Alright guys, here we're going to talk about Pushing Daisies Season 1, Episode 4. This was a charming episode.
Oh God, yes. No, this is the bomb.
This had all the necessity bits for like a good Pushing Daisies episode. And there's not really many bad Pushing Daisies episodes.
True.
But there are ones that shine so much brighter than others.
Yeah.
This one had all those through lines of the goofy characters, because we had many groups of goofy characters all at once.
We did. In a Pushing Daisies episode, because I don't usually like romance at all.
Okay.
But something about the way the Pushing Daisies does the love story and like the tragic love story, right?
Yes.
And you combine that, it's like woven together with just the absurdity, like the Mighty Bushian, like weird fake places, fake people, crazy sets, and just super, surreal, super real, whatever you want to call it, right? So yes, this hits all of like the bases here.
There's a part, just because you triggered it in my head with the goofy places, when they're in a prison cemetery digging up a body.
Yes.
And it looked like you could see the crease of a room line. And I don't know that that's what it was, but I'm watching that going like, okay, those clouds never move. I think those are painted onto the ceiling.
Tarps.
And it made me think that I'm like, you are in, like, clearly it's like a soundstage type of thing, but I'm like, usually you can't actually see.
You're not supposed to know that.
Like,
right.
you could see where like what looked like the ceiling met the wall.
Okay.
And like there was like a sheen or a line there.
I didn't notice that, but
Could be totally wrong, but
no,
it sucked me in.
On a show like this, they use a lot of CG to fill in their fake background things. But yeah, I feel like that's totally possible, and even if it's very obvious and I just missed it, they probably said, "Well, it works, do it, ship it. This is great."
And it did work. It was fine.
We're just having fun here. Yeah,
that's kind of like how the casket was buried 1 foot down.
Yes, the whole thing. Like it's not meant to be real, but it's meant to be real in your heart.
No, yeah. You play along. Much like how they give this man who has no eyeballs glasses to give him dignity, but you can see his eyeballs through the lenses.
Yes. You're not. Yeah, right.
They could have painted those lenses black. They could have chose really dark limo tint, but no, they didn't, and I like that creative choice.
They went that extra mile. Yes.
Yeah.
So like my impulse is always to like don't look too hard at that because that's obvious or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. All right, so the episode is about like I keep saying train. A plane flies into a building, and it made me think, I'm like, what year was this? Can they still do that? What?
The imagery was startling because it looks like a plane hitting a building, and the building, like, it looked like a much smaller diorama version of 9/11. I wrote in my notes, miniature 9/11 happens in this episode. Heart-wrenching.
Trigger warning.
Trigger warning.
So like this plane hits into a building. The plane had been hijacked somehow. The guy who jumped onto my plane is what he says.
Yeah.
And
do they ever actually completely fill that in?
They don't fill it in. They don't show it. So I couldn't recall we've seen all the episodes before, but I couldn't recall the episode exactly. And I'm like, all right, did a guy parachute onto his plane? How did that work? Jumped onto my plane. So, like, we are to infer, because we didn't see anything about a man jumping from a plane, that he hijacked it on the ground and made the guy drive. But how did that work?
I am thinking that he...
how did he even get out of prison?
I think the plane went by the prison, and he jumped out of the window, of the prison onto the plane.
It's as plausible as anything else.
That's what
There's no explanation is given as to how he actually got on the plane.
That's what I thought that we were meant to believe.
But somehow he got onto the plane with his bird, and the bird jumped from the plane into the propeller.
And got caught.
Yeah.
So, like, the bird starts it all. You get the bird outside, and it's trying not to touch it. Oh, miracle bird. And then the squirrel, and then, like, oh, it's raining dead birds. Like, this whole awkward, you get a lot of great quick banter between Chuck Emerson and everybody, Olive, Ned, the whole crew's outside. They're doing a thing, You should touch it. Really? I don't think you should. What about that squirrel? And they're all checking their watches and looking at all this stuff, right? Everyone knows about Olive.
Yeah.
I like stuff like that.
This made me think of like how Ned could make a killing if he like found a really tough like badass dog, and then like killed it, and then touched it, and then entered in the dog fights. Okay,
so you keep saying stuff like that, but is there something later in the show that confirms that the people are immortal after they're brought back?
I believe so.
Can't they just die the normal way
again?
Well,
think about it this way. We've had people who have most of their head missing that come back alive. They're not actually alive. I think they're just dead, but they're still alive.
Yeah. No, like, we can totally infer that, but, like, we haven't seen anything happen to Chuck or the dog that implies that, like, more stuff can't happen,
I don't know if we ever do. I can't recall anything
We
like
might.
that.
I'm assuming that you're remembering something later and stuff like that,
But-
right? Because they put her in like danger, and like stuff happens where I think as an audience we're meant to think that, well, you can just die again, and then you're
Well,
dead
the
forever.
same way when we watch something and Superman's fighting somebody, we're like, oh my God, will Superman win? Like, of course he's
Well,
gonna win.
if it's an alien or a robot
but
or
Digby is 38 years old or something. And,
Oh, okay,
and
okay.
He
That's a
would have
good one.
died already of old age.
Yeah,
Even if that brought back day was his birthday, like a new
Yeah,
age.
No.
So I think you live forever.
That's the kind of thing I was asking about. Is like, is there anything that actually like points to that? And the dog totally does. So I don't know though.
And he doesn't look like an old decrepit dog. He looks exactly the same.
He's probably frozen, and she may just be frozen like that forever.
That's
then.
my picture.
That's a grim angle of the whole thing.
Is it grim?
We have like an old Ned like dying, and she's still exactly the same, and they still can't touch. Oh, it's like Mr. Freeze.
I love this thing about the. So he gives her a beehive thing on the roof, which I'm like ornately decorated with like I don't know like Indian stage attire or something. Looked really nice, but he's like, oh no, you know those bees suicided into you. He's like, well, actually they stung me, then flew away alive, and some other bees died.
Yes.
And I was like, I like that.
No, the whole thing. I love their cheeky banter about because like I was afraid that they were going to draw out the whole thing about how does it work and like the mechanics of it for her and all that stuff because I didn't like remember that angle of it. But I didn't remember it because they don't do it, which is great. So she just knows the deal. Where he's like, well, and then some other bees died, so you know, halfway, whatever. My bees. Well, yes, they're your bees because you own them now because I'm giving them to you, but these are not obviously the same bees you knew. Bees all over like fuck and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's a nice vibe, and we'll skip to the end just to round out the bee angle because they're dancing in beekeeper outfits.
Yes.
Oh,
But that's kind of
it's
the thing that I
wonderful.
would picture. I would picture you dressed up like a NASCAR driver, like all the time,
Right.
Because you know that touching this man who you live with could kill you. I'd be like, yep, you want a motorcycle helmet and you want a full, like up to the top of your jaw, like turtleneck with gloves that are attached to the shirt, so there can never be a little bit of you got me with my oh no,
like a CDC thing where it's all like
hermetically sealed.
Go in there like it's a zombie movie. Yeah. You would think so, but I like this angle because they set up the bees and the honey and the stuff, and they set up the thing, and then it's a gesture, and then the bees, and the bees are back, and the thing. Beekeeper outfits are a perfect thing for them to be able to interact physically, and here we are. It's wonderful.
Indeed.
In the middle, though. Back to the middle?
Back to the middle.
So there's a bit of a switcheroo thing that happens here. I actually love the overall story at work here and how it eventually unfolds and all that stuff.
Yes, it all comes together.
It all comes together. There's a dude in the apartment where the plane went, right? We just assume that that's the dude from the apartment, but it's the dude who was on the plane.
It's also the dude from Romeo and Juliet, the one that I actually like.
I like him too. I wrote down his name and everything like that. I went and looked him up again to be like, I know who that dude is and all that stuff. We're in a whole different section.
He's not in a ton of things, and I don't think he's ever really been given the I wanted him to get that one breakout leading role in a movie because I like him, especially when he was not that he's old now. This is also like 10 years old. But right around the time of Romeo and Juliet, when he played the cousin, what was his name?
Benvolio.
Benvolio.
I wrote it all down. I'm ready.
So when he played that guy, I was like, he's the perfect age to be a young action-y star. He got a Keanu Reeves kind of vibe, like in his starting types.
Oh.
I thought you could have done something like that. Not in looks, but in tone of the characters I think he could have played.
I like him a lot. He's also the alpha male from I Am Legend himself, which I had no fucking idea about.
Sure.
His name is Dash Mihawk, which is like a superhero name or something like that. And he's in
a name you would call a prank with.
He's in a video, a music video with Alanis Morissette where they're dancing.
Okay.
So he's also a dancer. He's multi-talented. Where they dance several dances throughout the years. It keeps cutting from 20s to 30s to 40s to 50s to 80s, and they keep changing their costumes and styles of dancing or whatever. And the trivia section says that they were dating during that time or married or whatever. So quite an accomplished career, but no, never had that breakout thing. We talked about him for Romeo and Juliet. He stood out to us, right?
Yeah.
And now he shows up here, and I thought he was great. in the flashback where he's Mr. Business and all that stuff, the looks on his faces, the different performances and everything he has to do throughout it, when he's pretending to be this, when he's revealed to be that, the prison thing, the business suit thing, across all of it, I felt good about it.
I want to make a movie where the pie maker is like brothers or cousins with David Tennant, and they go off on an adventure.
Okay.
They have a similar vibe.
Do you like Ned in this? I'm not gonna say I dislike him, but he might be my least favorite, thing on the show.
Oh no, I like him.
Yeah.
I like. Well, he's not my favorite character. My favorite character is what's his name? Ellis.
Emerson.
Emerson's my favorite character.
Yeah. Daddy needs some new yarn.
Because he's got just some.
He's great.
Stuff.
No, he's wonderful. He's wonderful. Sean McBride, the man.
Yeah, I would definitely. Like I said, we said before. I want the show to come back. I was trying to think of what could they do to make this show come
What's
back.
the angle for the show?
And I was like, what if, like, and you just made me think of it again and revise my plan. I'm like, what if Ned is dying of old age, and like, depending on how good she looks, she's not changed very much, but their son has the same power. And you're like, son, how'd that happen? They were able to use in vitro fertilization after he died because the power ended with him.
Okay.
I don't know.
He has an immortal baby. No, wait. A baby with
the baby's
pie maker
regular
power.
But maybe the baby has the power too, and they got to raise him to do this. And Emerson's
about-
son is also there.
Played by Jaden Smith.
No.
How about it's 4.7 billion years in the future. Earth is dying, and it's just her and the dog. In the vacuum of space.
A couple of bees.
And
a frog.
Bees, some fireflies, a frog. Just whatever he's brought back to life are about to be cast out into the cold dark of space where they'll do nothing but suffocate for all eternity.
I would like a thing, though, where you are making something in the far-flung future, and it's a group of aliens and heroes of various powers, and she is just there.
She's there.
Yeah.
What's your thing? Pies.
I'm immortal.
I'm immortal from pies.
And there's no reference. It's just the same character name and the same character, and that's all.
No, and that was the wonderful thing with Captain Jack from the Whoverse and the Torchwood thing, right?
Yes.
Where he had this weird immortality from like a weird angle that you would come at it from, and you just ended up with this state of being that you then leverage in different ways.
Yeah.
We've gone slightly off topic.
A little bit. A little bit.
It's like a whirlwind. We find out real quickly, within like 5-10 minutes, that that guy's got a fake arm, and he's not who he says he is, and the thing, and now it's like a chase. Now we're off to the races, right?
The best payoff of him being a one-armed man is when they finally catch him, and they just put one handcuff on him,
Like
and then just walk him out.
They just don't know what the fuck to do.
It's procedure. You gotta handcuff him.
Right, and they even spin him around, and he's like, come on. They're like, come on.
Like, you'd think like they'd put it on to like his belt loop or something.
Yeah.
Nothing.
It's great. It
just hanging there. It's just like a mace that he could be swinging about.
It just dangles. He can just.
And he doesn't even get his hand back when he goes to jail. And like that fake hand was so pronounced, but you don't notice it at all beforehand.
Yeah.
And I was like, did they ever show it? I'm like, well, he was holding hands with his left. Is this and that? Okay. Could I have seen it? It's like a yellow wood hand. I think I'd see it.
He even just catches her. The whole thing happens, and no one seems to know he has a fake hand.
Yeah.
And it's a fake. It's like a whole arm. It's like a whole fucking thing. It's amazing.
That paper shredder ate him like
just kept attacking him. And the weird shot from inside the paper shredder of like the jack-o'-lantern style teeth. This giant thing. It's charming as fuck. No, I did notice in like the overhead shot where they're eating pie that his fake hand was under the table and all that stuff.
Okay.
So I was like, aha, and all that. So, not that I mean, I realized it because it, right afterwards. And the minute he grabs his arm, I'm like, why is he grabbing his arm like that? What's going on? Oh, sweet.
Thump hits him in the face.
It's
the one-armed man.
You're an actual one-armed bandit, which is
not since I can't think of the name of the movie with Harrison Ford. The
Fugitive.
The Fugitive.
Hell yeah.
Has there been such a one-armed man?
It wasn't me. It was the one-armed man. So like, there's the thing about he can't catch her and all that stuff, and there's some metaphorical love stuff here. We'll just sort of, it was actually a nice gesture in context. And the guy's like, I don't understand how it could be, because he's coming on to her, they're doing the whole thing. It's a good time.
He could have put a foot out.
Yeah, he could have done something. Tripped her.
Try to roll her.
Right. Just swiftly punch her in the kidney through, where there's fabric. Yeah. Just make it good. No, he dives out of the way, which yes, like that's a good angle for the show overall, is no one else knows they can't touch.
Yeah.
So there's gonna be things that come up where like Ned, do something, and he's like,
Also, a good case for why you should wear keys. Why you should wear gloves like all the time.
all the time, just be like
Like that could
yeah.
be a thing. Oh, I have what's that like flaky skin disease? I have that, and I need to wear gloves.
No, like I'm glad that they avoid it, honestly, because it's like very cliche. But I feel like if you gave me this like treatment or like this premise, I'd be like, and we pretend one of them's a germaphobe, right? Something happens, and
Yeah.
they're all bound up all the time, and like I don't want to touch that or something like that. But they accidentally touch other things and like other
Psoriasis.
people.
That's
yeah.
what it's called.
Yeah, you give them some fake disease or real mental disease.
You'd think something.
Yes.
And like, just to avoid things
a
like
nice,
touching that pigeon had he worn gloves.
Yes.
Or like, he was at work. He could have had plastic gloves on. He was fucking making pies. Like,
Yeah. It would be like a nice shortcut, but it would almost be like overpowered. It would like ruin too much, I think. But that's what you should do as like a reasonable thing, and that's the kind of crutch that I would use as like a writer, is like, oh, she's like a germaphobe. Or he would have to be the germaphobe, I think, right? Because
that would make more sense for him, because then he couldn't accidentally touch more things.
Yeah. And then like it fits with his personality, and it's like funny because he can touch stuff and he doesn't care, but she's all like obnoxious and stuff, and like can just do whatever she wants, and they're like, oh, like Ned doesn't want to eat any of that. No, germs, and he's like, fuck, and just keeps like
I actually love strawberries.
Yeah, it just keeps giving him shit.
Ned, this was raised in poop.
No, Ned, you can't have farm raised eggs. No, think of the germs. And he's like, fuck, and Emerson's just enjoying things. Okay, we end up at some windmills. We already talked about digging up the body, doing the things.
That get transported intact, presumably.
What?
Well, they retire the windmills to this windmill farm.
Okay. I was like, what? Yes.
So in order for them to get there, we have to assume they're just being like hoisted off the ground and dropped somewhere else.
I did not think
about. And people live in them. Like,
I didn't think about any of this at all.
The logistics seem ridiculous.
I was just like, yep, that's where the windmills live.
Because she's like, oh, I've always lived in the windmill, and this and presumably she has, but did she always live in it there? Like,
I thought so. I thought she just lived in like Windmill Town.
I don't know.
I did not give it a second thought. I feel like
because they bring up a lot of things about windmills. Oh, waiting for the wind until you can work and this and that and whatever. And I'm like, all right. So this is an active windmill. You do live in this windmill. This windmill's not where it was. At least that's what that like agent said.
I didn't pick up on that at all. I can't comment.
She said something like, oh, it's moved, but I have a map, or like something like that.
Okay. That's crazy.
It's been retired. It went to it had an acronym like the BRM or something. I was like, what's that? Oh, that's the place where we send windmills when they've retired.
They say Nam, and then she says Vietnam, and he goes no, and like Chuck knows everything. She knows everything. Yeah, he's been reading her whole life. Okay, no, I just totally.
But also,
skipped
that's
over that
down the
mentally
street
in
from
my
her
head.
house. Because it's only a few miles away.
Yeah.
So like, she actually could have known it because like, oh yeah, that's down the road. I've seen that.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I was like, what the fuck? Is this a thing? Do people retire windmills? Do windmills go places? How does that work? And then, like, presumably during that whole moving of the windmill, she may have found the diamonds, and that's how she knows they're there in the first place.
The whole thing, yeah. So the diamond, so much about this was so good. Their like interaction, him tying her up, being so funny. He used bows and the whole thing, right? Her having a fake leg that has a fucking door in it where the diamonds are hidden now and everything like that. It's just, and like, I wrote down in all caps, they've been writing to each other and didn't know. Oh, like, again, like, I hate.
Oh, my heartstrings.
Yeah, I literally, like, I don't watch any movies that are romantic. When there's a love story in a movie that I would like, it's usually shoehorned in there, right? Or it's designed to show off how shitty people can be and all that stuff. So these little delicious treats of, like, a weird, good love story,
It's the extra coincidental stuff that I think I did not like. So like, it's the person he's writing to, and when the guy sends him to where the diamonds are hidden, it's also the person you've been sending letters to. That seems a little strange. In a different location than it originally was.
Well, he fell in love with her when he dumped off the diamonds. She like interrupted him.
No.
And he keeps writing to her. And now this is her daughter who pledged to keep writing to him.
The issue is when he first fell in love with her, the windmill was in a different location.
Yeah.
And this person followed that windmill to a different place where, like, oh, even though it's retired now, I still live there.
Yeah.
That's what is twice removed. Because it's not the same person. It's a person continuing the tradition. as he is continuing the tradition.
Yeah.
It's a lot of coincidental
And they
stuff.
fell in love with each other, not knowing that they weren't the people they were pretending to be.
While acting like they
so
were in love with each
charming.
other, actually fell in love.
Yeah, that's right. That's something about that.
I had an issue
Something
at
about
first
that.
before they announced that it's the daughter. I was like, wait a minute. How
How could
old
she
was
still
that
be
guy?
her?
Because that guy aged a lot. She
was
aged that much.
12.
Was she 10? Like,
Yeah,
the hell?
Yeah, because like the same actress plays the mom, but a different actor plays
Yeah.
the whatever. So like that was a little bit of a thing. But no, that was a good. I enjoyed that. That was I felt good about it. It was like a goofy thing, but like the kind of goofy.
No, I enjoyed it. It's
love
just
that I
it was
like,
an after
yes.
the fact me thinking on it, going like, wait a
Yeah.
minute, what?
No, like having missed all those details about the windmill moving, I just completely ignored that for some reason. So I never had a chance for that to like bother me or like.
Had it gone to
get into
Vietnam,
the
I would have
thing.
even had more issues.
Yes, right. Pyongyang.
Oh no, but my issue is that like how does the bird know to fly to a different location? That's what's weird.
Maybe the bird, like you moved with the bird in the windmill, and the bird just goes back to where the bird started. Nailed it.
I guess, but
I
where does the first step start? How do you teach the bird to go to that window?
to go to the prison.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't think he could.
This episode is ruined now.
Ruined.
Ruined it.
Anything else happen in this episode?
We get a little more with Olive and stuff. So that's so.
Oh yeah, so
everything-
Olive and the
Yeah,
ants.
I kind of just so there's there's kind of like the plot does this like X, and
Yeah.
we just talked about like the left one, right? So yeah. Meanwhile, Olive's with the ants, plotting and scheming, thinking that
Yes.
she's like, I'm gonna expose Chuck, and it's gonna be great.
But
and
then
they're all
second
eating
guesses
drugged
it
pie.
because
Yeah.
she's like, I actually
That-
like these people and don't want to hurt them, and this information's not going to help them.
That sequence with the narrator and like Olive doing all the stuff and the ants and everything there was wonderful.
So I had only ever seen this on like network TV or like downloads or something before in my first run. So seeing
Yeah.
it on Amazon, it's like full quality. You can see like Olive is way older than them, like dramatically so. Like
Yes.
like very not to say she's not an attractive lady with well applied makeup, but it is.
She's a national
I'm
treasure.
seeing it in a different light than I did the first time, and I'm like, I wonder what the age difference is between Olive and the pie maker.
And Chuck, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder that too. I've been kind of going along with that, but it's definitely a good thing to call out. I started clicking on some other people while I'm clicking on people for this episode, and she does a lot of singing and a lot of Broadway and like a lot of stuff. People apparently know her a lot. I'm
I've
not
seen
sure
her in things, and I can't picture what they were, but
So-
I knew her from this first.
Yeah, that's where I land on her. Is I've seen her from things, but I'm not sure from what. But she's been famous and singing, and she's a national treasure. Is like the whole thing with her. So again, yeah, I don't know. I don't think it ruins the role, but there's a little bit of something going on with that where you're like,
I saw a picture of
I
her
must
next
go
to
along
like,
with this.
and she's like super short too, which you can tell from the
Okay.
show. But I saw a picture with her next to like some basketball player, like she's saying the national anthem at a game or something, and she is like a third of a basketball player's height, which
She's 1/3 of a basketball player.
I do want to
Yeah.
look up.
Well, because while I was buzzing around, I wanted to make sure that I had everybody correct because I recognized both ants. And I think we said this in episode 1, just like briefly, but that's the lady, the love interest. What's her name from Little Shop of Horrors, right? With Rick Moranis.
Yes.
She's got a very distinct voice. That was an obvious one. And the other ant's been in like a bunch of stuff too, and I like her character, right?
The ants
There's,
themselves are very, very quirky and very fun.
There's a point. I forget if I wrote down the line, maybe whatever she says. There's something that happens when the bird. I was like, the bird can fly, and then it cuts to the Cyclops ant, and she's like, "Son of a bitch" or something like that. Just like says it all flat, and I'm like, oh, it's amazing, right?
I love that they're sewing on a dead bird's wing, and
Which
not
they go
a
like-
recently dead
like,
bird,
it
a
just
bird
pops it
that's
off
been
the wing.
taxidermied.
Yep.
So like it could never do anything but be that one shape, which would make it impossible to fly in any means.
It shouldn't be possible in like any case because the bird's controlling it somehow, right?
Yes.
So like they're actually like several characters have powers on this show.
Yes.
And she has the power from like the old English myths of like taxidermy or something, where she's like magic thread that can like heal the animal or something. Like this is insane. It's great because it has one totally mismatched wing and now can fly or whatever, right?
And then some weird like bedazzled saddle that holds it all together.
Yes.
So Olive is born in 68. The pie maker was born in 79. So it's not that big of a difference actually.
Yeah.
And then
Well, he seems older than Chuck. I might just be biased or whatever. But even she's not, like, they're not super young actors in general.
No.
So I think, like, as the ages get higher, the distances between them matter less and stuff like that. So it's not...
Certainly.
It's not like we have, like a 21-year-old versus Olive, right? But
I already forgot what
age
ages I said. What was it, 10-year difference between them?
68 to 79, right? So that's about 10, 11, whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
So an 11-year difference.
Ned seems older than Chuck. But again, she might just look
Chuck,
good.
I did look her purse. She was, I think, 76.
Yeah. So in real life, just a few years or whatever, right? But they're all that's okay. That's fine.
No, it's fine.
It's not like Cougar Town. We're not getting all the way down into it.
Not too deep. And Emerson, of course, I would imagine is
400. He's regenerated 3 times.
He's 61, or 1961 was when he was born.
Yeah.
So he is the oldest.
And he's supposed to be. That all fits.
He's not supposed to be high school friends with them. So
right.
he's a businessman. They happen to know.
Yeah, I wonder if we get into Olive's childhood at all. I'm sure she came from somewhere else or whatever. But we do all these flashbacks.
I don't know, but I can't recall. But I'm eager to find out.
Yeah. We should talk about Birdhouse in Your Soul. I mentioned this like 4 episodes
they're
ago.
Playing They Might Be Giants
Fucking
song.
love that song. The treatment here is not amazing, but I fucking love it. They like have a little dialogue to like seed it. They talk about the birds and the birdhouses and the metaphor, and they do the song. No, yeah, and
if you didn't know They Might Be Giants, based on how they dropped those lines earlier on, you might think this was a song written for the show.
Yeah, it's great.
Especially because like their cover is
they're doing something
very much theirs.
Yeah. No, and because like the one Olive, right, does sing, so they've had her sing now 2 or 3 times, and like
as much as they can, they make her.
I was saying we don't sing every episode, and that's good because it shouldn't be like a weird musical gimmicky thing. But sometimes we do, and I love that song, and I love how they worked it in here. It's dope.
Yeah.
What else have we got?
Let's see. So it all comes together. The guy eventually goes back to jail.
All right, Shu. They like it's like a bookend and all that stuff.
Picks right back up.
What a tragic!
Now they're actually writing to each other.
What a tragic love story.
You almost think that they're gonna get away with it, like
yes,
because of how like nice it is.
Yeah.
But then of course Emerson needs to get paid, and they presumably do get paid on all the accounts that he said for. They did. Well, actually. The diamonds, I guess, stayed with her because they didn't actually see the diamonds.
Okay.
Or it didn't take them back or whatever.
Yeah. They don't need to know about the diamonds. They like at that point, the jig was up, so they didn't even like show them looking for the diamonds. Yeah. But yeah, like after we as the audience got so into those characters, me maybe only as the audience.
Yeah, just abruptly ends.
I was this feels so great, and the ants didn't see Chuck. Oh, Olive even came through. Maybe it's the pie. Maybe it's her heart. I don't know, this is great. And then the cops are really there, and Emerson's counting his money. And I'm like, oh no,
Well,
right?
one of the ants did see Chuck, but
she
she
thinks
played it
it's
off
like
as a trick of her eyeball. And
right. When I say like they avoided them, I mean like Olive didn't
hardcore caught.
Olive didn't swing the door open. Motherfuckers, and like do the whole thing. It's great.
But she was to the left of her, and the other ant was blocking the other one's peripheries.
Yes.
And she was able to slip away.
At least she would have had her eye not been plucked out 14 years earlier.
I forgot. What did she lose her eye to? A bird?
Some like kitty litter got in it or something.
Oh, that's right, kitty litter.
It's some crazy story, and like in the flashback, you just see the back of a girl's head, and that's it or whatever.
Yeah.
Parts of it have like a Royal Tenenbaums, like a weird, awkwardy, stilted like feel. Yeah. And it fits in with those characters pretty good.
Yeah. That's pretty much everything that happens in that episode.
Yeah, we're not really at a point where, the relationship develops like a little bit, but nothing too major. And we're not at a point like we were in previous episodes where it's like, how are we going to resolve this problem, right? There's nothing
there's no problem, no carry on. We
just have the ongoing...
a better budding relationship between these two who can't touch.
Well, and we have the ongoing thing with like Olive is like trying to deal with this, and I want the pie maker, but I can't, and all that stuff, right? You might say, she can't touch him with her heart.
Might say, can't touch this.
Okay.
All right, guys, that's this episode. Let us know in the comments what you thought about it. Don't die in a fire, and we'll see you next time.
Hello, internets. I just love watching JustDaggers. If you've enjoyed this video as much as I have, click that subscribe button. Peace out, homies.